in level 3, and if you took level 3 with me, you may remember that in level 3, I told you there are verbs followed by gerunds and verbs followed by infinitives. Well, we were practicing verbs followed by gerunds. And if you remember well, I told you, okay, there are certain verbs such as, or for example, like, enjoy, hate, what else? Now, come on, you must remember. What else? Like, enjoy, hate.
Love.
Okay, that's good. There are more.
Look.
No.
No.
Not really. The particularity of these verbs is that they are followed by another verb ending in ing. And so it's like, enjoy, hate, love, prefer. Probably avoid, if you like, certain expressions like can't stand, stop, continue, give up, etc. In level 3, you probably saw only like, enjoy, hate, and love, and maybe prefer. These are the ones that you probably saw in level 3. Well, okay. All of these verbs have a particularity, I insist. They are followed by another verb ending in ing. That is why you say, I like, let's suppose, listening to music. See, you don't say, I like, listen. Oops, sorry. I like, listen to music. No, not really. You never say this. I like, listen to music. No, you say, I like listening. Maybe you can say, I like to listen. Well, okay, but I like listening. In these sentences, remember that you say, Mom enjoys play or playing. What do you think?
Playing.
Playing. Okay. Mom enjoys playing tennis in the morning. Okay. So you see, observe, enjoys, and look at the gerund, ing. Is that okay? The same happens with prefer. When you have prefer, you say, I prefer drinking Coca-Cola to Pepsi. Remember that this is not done, and I will tell you why not. Okay. And I will tell you why you need to use the gerund and not the infinitive. Because if you are going to use the infinitive, in this case, this is the expression, would prefer. If you want to use here than, in that case, you should be using would rather. Would rather goes with than. Would prefer goes with to rather than. Okay, so in present, we say, I prefer drinking Coca-Cola to Pepsi, and here is the gerund. But when you are using would rather or would prefer, we are talking about the preference, but in the not real situation, in the unreal thing. If you say, for example, I would prefer to stay home. If you say, I would prefer to stay home. The complete sentence would be rather than to go out. Okay. If I don't want to use would prefer in this case, then I would have to use I would rather stay home. Now, I just want you to observe the difference. Let me eliminate this complement because I don't usually like to use it because then it sounds confusing for the students. But I just want you to observe both sentences. Come on, compare them. I would prefer to, I would rather stay home. What is the difference? What's different? In structure, obviously.
I don't know, teacher.
Not in meaning, dear. Don't break your head in meaning. No, in structure. Can you see any difference?
The connector too?
All
This is
right.
the connector?
Exactly.
Okay.
Observe, these two goes with would prefer. When you are using would rather, you use nothing. It's plain. Yes? This is grammatically, this is basically the difference. Now, the difference in translation, the difference in meaning, none. Is exactly the same if you say, I would prefer to stay home, than if you say, I would rather stay home. It's the same meaning, no changes.
But
Now,
Miss, in the prefer to, it's not like a prefer. It's like when you say, "Oh, I would prefer to stay in my, I don't know, in the school." Rather, it's like I want, or it's a lot, no?
let me tell you, the only difference here is probably when you finish writing the complement. When you say, I would rather stay home than
Go to school.
Okay, go to school. Okay, is this the structure? Now look at the complement for the other. I would prefer to stay home rather than to go to school. That is a real sentence. And observe, this sentence above looks as if it were taking part of this sentence. You see, that is why it's confusing for the students. Now, this is a real complete structure. Usually, in spoken English, all what you need to say is this. Usually, like this. Why? Because you are showing that you have more preference for one thing than for the other, and this is your final decision. You see what I mean?
We use anywhere.
Yes, it's true. Now, remember that because we are using would, this is a sort of hypothetical action. Yes, this is like the second conditional is would. I would prefer, but in the end, if I can't, well, okay, I will go to school.
Miss, when I use I would prefer is next to?
Yes.
Okay.
And
is
when
incorrect using the next verb with ing?
Yes, definitely. Definitely, because the structure in which you use ing is in the simple. I prefer staying home. Suppose I prefer staying home and weekends. Okay, this one. This is the one. Look, the simple is the one that goes with the gerund. The ones that goes with infinitive is this one. And this would rather has no present. I mean, in present, you can say, oh yes, I rather. No, rather doesn't exist. It's not a verb. No, rather exists only if you are using would. Otherwise, the expression doesn't exist.
Okay.
Now, another particularity about this, because they are hypothetical situations, be very careful with the complement. I'm going to mention one example, but I promise not to include it on the exam. I mean, not the example that I am going to mention. I promise to include this one. Yes. These two, yes. But I am not planning to include this. Observe. Let's suppose that I have a friend who is a really good friend for me. Okay? And I tell my friend a secret, but I don't want my friend to spread out, ya saben, regarla. I don't want my friend to spread out my secret. Precisely, so I ask him for discretion, and I would say, you know what? I would rather or prefer, whatever you want, I would rather you didn't tell this to anyone. Let me tell you. When
Miss,
you,
sorry.
That's okay. Yes.
Continue.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Final. Okay, how do we know when to use each one?
Okay. Would rather is exactly the same as would prefer. So you can use the one that you prefer most. Probably, I can say that the most common is I would prefer. And maybe I would rather is probably when you want to impress the other person. See what I mean? I mean, in meaning, in grammar, they have no difference. It's exactly the same story. Now, which one you want to use? The one that you prefer.
Okay.
But if you want to sound,
famous?
if you want to sound really cool, use would rather. But it's the same. Yes, Robert. What?
Then it's for the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same. They have no difference. You can use one or the other, the one that you prefer. Now, when are you going to use this one? Okay. All right. If you say, as I told you, I tell my friend a secret, but I don't want him to spread out my secret all over the world. So I ask him for discretion. You know what? I would rather you didn't tell this to anyone. Please, please, please. And observe that the person is using a simple past here because we are referring to a hypothetical situation here. It's a second conditional. So that is why if you are using would rather referring to another person, you need to use this. Now let me give you the translation. How would you translate, I would prefer to stay home? Tell me.
Como preferirías quedarme en casa, ¿no?
Right, okay. Now, I would rather stay home.
It's the same, right?
The same story, right. The only difference is to. To is exclusively for prefer, rather, nothing. Simple. Now, what about this one? I would rather you didn't tell this to anyone. Listen to the translation. Preferiría que no le dijeras esto a nadie. Preferiría que no le dijeras. Fíjense cómo trabaja el tiempo. Por eso lo pongo aquí como as if it were, yes, as if it were the past, but it is not a real past. I mean, yo lo voy a usar porque es la única forma que tengo de expresarlo en inglés. El inglés es muy corto en estructuras, tenemos que repetir. No es como en el español que tenemos que el copretérito y el antepretérito y el pospretérito. No me pregunten cuál es la diferencia porque no me la sé. Bueno, en inglés somos repetitivos. O sea, hay que agarrar lo único que tenemos, presente, pasado y futuro, y los perfectos. End of the story. Entonces, si yo voy a decirle aquí que preferiría, estoy hablando hipotéticamente, pues hay que ponerlo congruente con el otro. Yo preferiría que tú no le dijeras. Y ese tú no le dijeras, solo podemos expresarlo así. As if it were a second conditional.
Miss,
But
¿no
it
lo
is not.
podríamos expresar en manera futuro?
Es ya, futuro. Esto en futuro, no me preguntes en español cómo se llamaría, no lo sé. Yo en español solo sé que es presente, pasado y futuro. No sé la diferencia con el copretérito, el pospretérito, el copretérito. Ay, Dios, no. No, esto está dicho futuro. O sea, tú ya le dijiste el secreto a tu amigo y ahora quieres que no lo vaya a andar despepitando por allá. Entonces le vas a decir, yo preferiría es a futuro. Yo preferiría que no se lo dijeras a nadie, por favor. Esto no es pasado, no. Estás previniéndole al futuro que no lo vaya a decir. ¿Listo? Chicos, esta forma prometo no incluirla en el examen. Prometo. Si fuera nivel 6, sí, con todo gusto se las acesto. Ajá, porque la tienen que aprender a manejar. Pero ahorita sí, no. Hagan de cuenta que todavía son como kinder para mí. Entonces, no, sería una infamia de mi parte ponerles esto. Pero esto sí. Esto de aquí sí. ¿Nos queda claro que no hay diferencia entre una y otra?
Sí, Miss.
Okay. The difference comes here, remember. And probably the difference in the structure. ING, this one. Infinitive, this one. Nothing, this one. Yes, is that okay? Any questions? Any questions?
No, Miss.
Yes, Diego, it's correct, your example. And even if you tell me he prefers cycling to driving, yes, it's correct. Of course. Well done, dear. Well, okay. So the important here is that we learned the difference between the use of would prefer and the use of simply prefer. In the end, exactly the same way you learn would prefer, you will be learning would rather because they have no difference except for two. So it's exactly the same idea, right? Have you ever seen, sometimes people like to put bumpers, you know, I don't know how to say them in Spanish. Bumpers is those like banners, but they are not banners, or stickers that you put on the car, probably in the back bumper. And many times that back bumper says something like this: I'd rather be on the beach. ¿Nunca los han visto? Que la gente se
Son
los
como
pone
luces LED.
y tiene letrerito, I'd rather be on the beach. ¿Ah? Bueno, ¿qué están diciendo? Aquí está, este es el would rather, es esto, nada más que con la contracción. Y les dicen, I'd rather be on the beach, preferiría estar en la playa. Claro, va manejando, por eso dice que preferiría estar en la playa. ¿Listos? Any questions? Is it clear the difference between would rather and would prefer? Do you remember that not last class, but probably 2 classes ago when I mentioned as if, I also mentioned as a synonym, as though. Do you remember as if, as though?
Yes.
Okay, well, this is exactly the same. Would rather and would prefer. It's the same story. They mean the same, exactly the same. If you use because of, or if you use due to, it's the same, exactly the same. Yes?
Yes,
They
Miss.
are like synonyms. As you say, like. But okay, they are like synonyms. Well, okay, so no more questions. Is it okay if I remove this? Anybody who wants to give us an example, like the example that, who gave us the example on the chat? Diego? No. Who was it? Somebody put an example in the chat. I prefer cycling to cars. Who was it?
Was Diego.
Diego, okay. So any other example?
No, teacher, is one example.
Okay.
Usual.
All right. Yes, but it's correct. So I wish I could hear another example here, but if you like. No, that's fine. Well, then let's go to the book. Let me stop sharing this so we can go to the book and I can find an exercise similar to this. Wait. Okay. And let us go. Okay, to book. As if it were one or the other. Okay. All right, let me show you the book. Remember that we said when we are using prefer, it's because we are stating preferences. And well, okay, that would rather would be exactly the same. If we are stating preferences, we can use would rather or would prefer. Now here you can see the contracted form. I'd rather, and here is look, then I preferred, and okay, the other expression, preferably, as a question, would rather. Oh, right, I didn't mention the negative. Yes, it's true. Okay, I forgot to mention the negative, and the negative is also very particular. Okay. Would rather, and then that's it. Let's see if, okay, instructions. Mandy, are you there? Is Mandy there? No, Amanda, ¿no andas por ahí? Okay, Lily? Lily? No?
Se me pasó, está trabando el internet y no escucho. O sea, me quedé la explicación.
Okay, Lily. That's okay, don't worry. And Majo?
Mommy.
Yes, okay. Marifosa, would you please read instructions?
Expression for setting preference, listening. Preference, listening to the conversation again and complete the expression.
Okay. Majo, it's necessary that you continue reading instructions, right? Look at the expressions for stating preferences, plural. Listen to the conversation again, complete the expressions. Ready? One more time. Come on.
Look at the me.
Okay.
Please.
Was it the internet? What?
Es que se corta. Perdón.
No, that's okay. It's not your fault. Sí, pero sí escuché. Okay. Well, let's see if you can do it again.
Look at the expressions for stating preference. Listen to the conversation again. Complete the expressions.
Okay, there it is. Well, let us listen to the conversation and let us try to complete.
I don't hear anything, teacher.
No se escucha.
We can hear it.
Okay. Sorry. What? No, you didn't hear?
No, I think you have to share the audio.
Yes. Okay. True. Thank you. Okay. Sorry. All right.
Good morning.
Better now?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
teacher.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for telling me.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm interested in any properties you have in the center of town.
Okay. And is that to rent or to buy?
Oh, it's to rent. I've just started a new job here, so I think I'd rather rent than buy. For now, anyway.
Okay. Well, we have quite a few apartments in our system, from one-room studios to four-room apartments.
I'd prefer something small, but not too small. I imagine I'll have a lot of friends staying with me, so 2 bedrooms and preferably with an elevator. I ride my bike a lot, and I don't want to carry it up lots of stairs.
Well, most of the modern buildings have elevators, but a lot of the properties in the center are pretty old. Would you rather look at new places or older ones?
It doesn't matter. At this point, I'm just getting an idea of what things are like here.
Okay. So you're new to the area?
Yeah, I lived in a small town up near the mountains until recently.
Oh, that sounds nice.
To be honest, I prefer cities to towns. The problem with a town is that everyone knows your business. Maybe I'm unfriendly, but I like the way that in a city, you don't know everyone.
Ah, yes. I've heard a few people say that. To be honest, I prefer living here. I suppose I like my privacy too. Okay. What about parking? Do you need garage space?
No, I don't have a car. I prefer to walk or ride my bike. It keeps me fit.
Of course. You mentioned your bike.
Yeah. And anyway, in my experience, driving in town is a nightmare.
I know. And it's getting worse. Okay. Well, the next thing to consider is your budget and the rental period.
What do you think your budget is in Spanish? What do you think? Pardon me?
Presupuesto.
Right. That is your budget. Well done, Bruno. Yes, let me put it here on the chat because it's vocabulary word. Yes, it's true. It's your budget. So that is why the man says, now another thing to consider is your budget. So obviously. Why? What is a woman trying to do? Tell me.
To rent an apartment.
Yes. Yeah, to rent a place for her. So she prefers renting or buying?
Rent.
Okay, she prefers, okay, to rent. Why? Probably because she lives alone. Okay. Then let me show you the box one more time so if it's possible for you to get a screenshot so you can keep it there. Or if you have the book, well, okay, just consider the page. This is page 88. Yes, I will play the recording one more time so you can fill in the blanks. Remember. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi, I'm interested in any properties you have in the center of town.
Okay. And is that to rent or to buy?
Oh, it's to rent. I've just started a new job here, so I think I'd rather rent than buy. For now, anyway.
Okay. Well, we have quite a few apartments in our system, from one-room studios to four-room apartments.
I'd prefer something small, but not too small. I imagine I'll have a lot of friends staying with me, so 2 bedrooms and preferably with an elevator. I ride my bike a lot, and I don't want to carry it up lots of stairs.
Well, most of the modern buildings have elevators, but a lot of the properties in the center are pretty old. Would you rather look at new places or older ones?
It doesn't matter. At this point, I'm just getting an idea of what things are like here.
Okay. So you're new to the area?
Yeah, I lived in a small town up near the mountains until recently.
Oh, that sounds nice.
To be honest, I prefer cities to towns. The problem with a town is that everyone knows your business. Maybe I'm unfriendly, but I like the way that in a city, you don't know everyone.
Ah, yes. I've heard a few people say that. To be honest, I prefer living here. I suppose I like my privacy too. Okay. What about parking? Do you need garage space?
No, I don't have a car. I prefer to walk or ride my bike. It keeps me fit.
Of course. You mentioned your bike.
Yeah. And anyway, in my experience, driving in town is a nightmare.
I know, and it's getting worse. Okay. Well, the next thing to consider is your budget and the rental period.
Okay. Does anybody have any idea what do we call the person? Yes, of course, Megan. What do we call the person who usually offers the house to rent? Any idea? The person, the owner of the house who offers the house to rent. It's the landlord. And if it's a woman, it will be landlady. Landlord is the person who gives you the house to rent. And if it's a woman, then it would be a landlady. Okay, let us work in trios. Let me see. This time I will let you choose the people you want to work with. Yes,
Could
Robert.
you repeat the page of the book?
Sure. Okay, let me show you the
I don't remember.
exercise.
I have the
This is page 88.
perfect
Please,
tense.
if you do have the book, take it out because you will be working in trios and well, okay, you will be using the book with your partners. Ready? Look, this is page
Is it
88.
partners?
Yes, we will do it in trios. Okay, before we get together in trios and we go, when we come back from the exercise, I will show you this exercise in which you can perfectly see the use of prefer, followed by Jera, the use of rather in simple form, and the use of only would rather. Well, okay, so page 88, please. Okay, this time you will be able to choose the people you want to work with. Yes. Hey, you didn't see. Let me check. It's exercise 3, page 88, exercise 3. Yes? Okay, remember, in trios. In trios, we will be working okay, let me see. Fatima,
Miss,
Robert,
we
yes,
have
yes.
Paola
those
Benavides.
Ajá.
Estaban los
Okay,
tres juntos.
and
Paola
Paola
Benavides. Sí.
Okay, thank you. So that is going to be team number 1, Fatima, Pao, and Robert. I just need you to, I know, but I put the other Robert, sorry. This is Robert. What is your last name? Robert?
Altamirano.
Altamirano, right, Altamirano. It's because now I have, okay.